Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited for today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here is my favorite quote ever. Out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there. 80 are just targets. 9 are the real fighters. And we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. Heraclitus, the philosopher, warrior trainer. Our guest today is a warrior, a good friend of Culture Matters. Went from lids to raising the lid on those that have decided to pursue the professional career of helping people achieve the American dream. They got into the industry and had a quick start to success, top 10, top 7 of, over 1,000 other professionals in their original firm. And going on almost 2 decades as that warrior, bringing the others back, founding Pivot Realty out there in northern Kentucky, the founder of the Necessary Entrepreneur podcast, going on close to, if not at least 100 episodes plus. I know we're close. Our mutual friend, got to give a shout out to the remarkable Phil Treadwell, who brought us together, who's a freaking staple regular on the Culture Matters podcast. My good friend, Mark Perkins, the real Mark Perkins, is here today. I want to keep going. I'm excited. I want to read the quote again. Thanks for coming.
Am I supposed to interrupt now?
And a great interviewer too. I really recommend his podcast. He actually listens and asks questions at a very high level, and that is something we could talk about. Thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast and doing me the honor, because I know you're on the other side of this a lot.
Yeah. Hey, man, I think I need to come on more podcasts. I say no a lot. I'm sure that some of the experts in this world should tell me to say yes, but I say no a lot. And but I need to start doing this more, because just receiving an introduction like that, it's going to make me have a better day, man. And so it does feel good at times to hear some of the things that we've done. And I know life's filled with a lot of failure, and that's where we learn. That's what we all talk about. But it is mixed in with some good things. And when you're out here really trying to hustle and grind and improve and change people's lives at the same time improving ours individually, it feels good to reflect a little bit. So maybe this will be a reflection culture podcast.
I'd like to, you're 28, 29 years old and you're starting the business. You're that necessary entrepreneur. What's the lesson in the first 12 months? What's that first necessary lesson?
It's not going to work. It's just not going to work, man. That's why you have to commit to the outcome when you first start. And I'm a guy who has big goals. I don't think that's too dissimilar from anybody in life. Whether you're an employee, the new term entrepreneur, an entrepreneur, a lot of us have big goals. But when we're thinking about those big goals and documenting those, we don't think about all the failure that's going to be necessary along the way for us to achieve them. And so what I've figured out is my goals, I don't think ever, man, one time, I don't think I've ever achieved my big goals in the time frame that I initially thought I was going to achieve them. And so if you can accept that and then still start, it's probably going to be a pretty good outcome for you. Yeah.
You're here in one of your buildings on a Saturday. Some of your team was just here. Did you have that? Well, first, do you consider that dedication?
It's just whatever it takes. Man, dedication. I think if you're not dedicated to what you're doing, which I use the word committed. If we aren't committed to doing really well at the thing, we shouldn't do it. We should go do something that's going to be a little bit easier. Because of the level of effort, the level of dedication, if the only level that we're willing to bring is something that's at a low, easy level, then that's all you should be willing to do. Because you're going to be let down. You're never going to achieve the things, all the hard work that you have to put in to achieve really big goals. It's not going to be worth it because you're going to quit. So just do something easy. So dedicated.
Mm.
Man, I think that goes in line with this word balance. So many people are looking for balance. I think that's an awesome idea. It feels good. I mean, it feels good. It makes us smile if we can really balance everything out. I'm sure most people wouldn't think balance. I'm sitting here at 3 p.m. Eastern time on a Saturday. I just had two people on my content team stop in too. I mean, they're dedicated to this thing I've sold them on, or else they wouldn't be. So most people working at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, if it doesn't fit their normal work schedule, yeah, I'm sure they would think that is dedicated for them. It just doesn't feel that way, man. It just feels like I do whatever's necessary.
Was that the case in that first 24 months, 36 months
It's
in
been
your
the
founding of Pivot?
it's been the case my entire life, man. It's been the case. It was the case. It's the same reason why within 18 months, 12 to 18 months, I was at a firm with 1,200 agents. I'm 25 years old, which is young for residential real estate. That's really young. Lived in an apartment, didn't own real estate, didn't have financial sense. And so, um, but that same thing is the way I went from 25 to 26 or 27. And I still have the sheet somewhere. I was number 13 in that firm
Wow.
that next calendar year. And so that didn't finish the year because I left there and started this pivot thing for all the reasons that it could be a whole nother podcast. But dedicated, I just think we should be dedicated. If I'm out mowing my grass, I mean, I was raised a certain way that if I'm out mowing my grass, I should be dedicated actually to making it look the best it possibly could look that day. I'm not mowing it just to mowing it and get through.
Mm.
I just think we should be dedicated to absolutely everything. But dedicated to what? I think dedicated to doing a really good job. And then if that takes 7 days a week, you better be willing to do it 7 days a week. I don't think 3 p.m. on a Saturday is dedicated. I think maybe 11 p.m. on a Saturday is dedicated.
Not at the club. I just want
True.
to.
But you know what? You know what though? I mean, if you're a person who's going to go to the club, if you put in 8 hours at the club, maybe that's dedicated there. It's kind of funny saying that, but it's putting in the extra time.
Mm.
Putting in the extra time.
Young apartment, no real estate. How do you navigate? Because people listening to this
Mhm.
may be on the come up, whether they're in that age bracket or even beyond that, and they may have feel they missed their moment.
Mhm.
And they may be in a context where they feel as though they lack the experience or they lack the credibility, right? So young apartment, no real estate. How did you navigate rejection or like not even rejection, apprehension or yeah, the assumption that you weren't qualified or something?
I think you have to own it that you're not. I think it's so important just to be so real and be self-aware. And so many people in sales are worried about the tough questions. They're worried about the obstacle that somebody's going to put in front of them. And I was fortunate early in my 20s that I was in an environment, a sales environment, and in a leadership position at a young age, being in a management position. And you just found out that usually you're never prepared for the next thing you're going to do. For some reason, the older we get, we think that all of our life experience prepared us for the next thing. No, nothing I have ever done. Maybe it gave me some confidence. Maybe it built some self-esteem. But I got to be really honest. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And so what I understood was thankfully I had some built-in self-confidence,
Mm.
right? Self-confidence is not looking for anybody. It's self. I'm confident. What I was confident is like I'm going to outwork anybody. I'm going to figure it out. If somebody asks me tough questions that I don't know, they're going to. I'm going to go figure it out. But I'm going to sit down and be honest with them. But I remember a time. See, I'm that. I know hustle and grind culture. People were hating on it for a while. but it's real. It's necessary if you want to do big things. I remember knocking on a $1 million plus home, and I'm in here in Cincinnati in northern Kentucky. But our average price point when I started in the business 19 years ago was like $143,000 purchase price.
Wow.
Now it's 300,000. We're a 33rd large metropolitan place in metropolitan area in the country. So it's not like New York City or DFW or Baltimore or Philly or LA. And so it was affordable. It was this Midwestern city. But I went and knocked on $1 million home. That now would be a $2.5 million home. And I wasn't scared. And I just went and knocked on the door. And I didn't know, I had no clue. But I said, you know what? I got to get started somewhere. But I remember I knocked on the door. There was a guy out mowing his grass. And you wouldn't think the guy who owns the $1 million home normally mows his own grass. And that's true. Most don't. Some do. But this guy happened to be the owner. And he shut off the lawnmower, had a for sale by owner sign in the yard. And I didn't have the scripts. I'm going to go out and talk to people. And he sat down on his front porch. He said, I need a break anyway. And he sat down on his front porch and he said, hey, Mark. He said, well, first he said, nice to meet you, all this stuff. He said, why are you here today? I said, I'd love to list your home for sale. Just asked him. And he said, well, hey, Mark, I'm not going to list my home with you. And I said, well, why? I think that's what we should do often. Well, why? He said, well, my best friend's wife is a real estate agent. And she lives down the street in one of these houses too. And if I list it with anybody else than her, I might lose a friend.
Oh,
Now,
this is awesome.
I have way more responses in my repertoire and in my tool belt now that I didn't have then. I would have talked to him about quality, and I would have talked to him about ability and commitment and effort and stats and sales skills. I would have talked about all those things. And I'd accepted it. He probably saw I accepted it and I was going to go away, that 25-year-old guy. And he said, but hey, he said, keep doing what you're doing. You don't know who I am. You didn't ask my name. But he told me his name. He owned, I think, the largest carpet distributor and carpet stores in all of Cincinnati. The guy was super
Jeez.
wealthy, right?
Jeez.
He said, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have success that you can't imagine. Hearing little things like that early on from people, it helps. Especially when there's a lot of people around you that aren't doing the same things, and you have to have faith and belief that you're going to achieve the outcome that you're looking for. So I think the original question in the beginning, when you're brand new at something, and you don't know how, and you don't have the experience, how do you keep going? I guess what was the exact question?
Yeah. Well, how do you overcome the assumptions that you're not credible?
You just have to know that you're not, and you have to work it out, man. You have to show up every day and do more work than other people. And whatever, maybe this won't age well. If I make it to 80 and all the folks my age and whatever year that's going to be is going to look back like, yeah, he kept on talking about the old stuff. But the fact is I was still that kid that knew the right thing to do was be the first one at the office, be the last one to leave, do everything that no one else is willing to do. It's that simple. And so many people are trying to reinvent this stuff because the reason being they don't want to do the hard stuff.
I want your thoughts on this. I was talking to my wife last night over dinner, uh, newly married. And
Congratulations.
yeah, last time we talked, we weren't,
Yeah.
courthouse wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, isn't it weird or what are your thoughts that those that want to retire are the ones that aren't working very hard to begin with? That was my observation. Meaning, like, in those that don't want to retire, they seem like they'll inevitably have to because they're just in it, right, for so many years. I want
Yeah.
your thoughts on that. Maybe you see some holes in that, or like another way to look at it. I was like, those that talk about retiring all the time that I've met are the type that I observe them and I think you're not working that hard. And then those that do like crazy, I'm thinking, well, eventually that boulder just kind of, how long you to hold it. At some point, it'll be inevitable. I'm curious what you think on that.
Um, I'm becoming, I don't know if this is good or healthy or not with me as a leader, but I'm becoming less idealistic around topics more all the time. And the reason why that comes to my mind now is that maybe working in a government job for 20 or 25 years, making a middle income wage, having an average home, having a normal okay car, taking the one vacation to the okay resort every year, maybe that's best for some people. Maybe that is going to be what they feel is their best life, because I do look at some folks and they appear happy. Now, the tough thing there is that you go on social media and a lot of people appear happy now, right? We're not, most of us aren't showing the tough parts. We're not showing the difficult days. So,
I'm laughing because I don't see a lot of sad selfies. That's
yeah, yeah, man. But
hey,
I put
like
them on there
let's take a
sometimes, right? But we don't. Yeah, we don't. And so I think that retirement, I guess it needs to be aligned with what you think is your best life. And what I'm trying to challenge people to do every day is like, hey, use the capability that you have. I think we all have different natural strengths. They can evolve, they can develop over time, but it's important for us to really try to be honest with ourselves and self-aware. Like, hey, what's it look like for me to be truly the best I can?
hmm.
What's that? The current version of Mark at 44. Like, what do I think that 54-year-old guy, what's he really capable of? And if I'm honest, he's capable of a lot more. But that's how my brain's wired up. And so I know that if I was focused on retirement, I could do it now. But I have this other idea that we're not getting out of this life alive, right?
Hmm.
And we have one life to live. I don't know what comes after this. No need to get in those arguments. There's a bunch of opinions. But what I do know is while I'm here and have this brain that can think and that can help people attempt to live a better life and fulfill their capabilities a little bit more, I think it's my role and my job, because I think we're fortunate to be born in this country. Just the way that we get to live now versus 100 years ago, being an American citizen versus, I mean, the lottery that I hit in life that I had no part of is incredible. So I feel it's my responsibility to continue to move that thing forward, because so many people in our past, man, have sacrificed a lot of things and lived way more difficult lives to set this country up so that we get to do this.
Hmm.
I think it's my job, my responsibility to help other people and move this thing a little bit forward. And I don't think retirement plays any part of that.
Hmm.
I just don't.
Well, when did you think that way when you were going up to that door, or what got you to go up to that door? That's something
And
people
I don't,
fear.
yeah.
Like,
So I don't know why I'm so fortunate, man. I'm trying to help people overcome it, but I had the same fear. I had the same fear. And when I was holding open houses that realtors need to hold, um, when I was going to meet with that buyer for the first time at my office, and I needed to be good enough that day to convince them to sign an agreement with me that says I'm going to be their realtor, to be willing to ask that question, sign here and commit to me. I had it, but I just understood and I had accepted, if I don't do this, I'm not going to achieve my goals. It puts the fear away real quick, man.
hmm.
And too many people don't like to ask themselves, hey, what's the worst that can happen? Well, most likely the worst thing that's going to happen is someone's going to tell me no. But what I learned to do really quick is, like, when they tell me no, let me figure out why they told me no. Let me spend some time with myself today, not to ruin my self esteem, not to beat myself up, but I lost today. And someone else is going to win. What do I need to be? What do I need to say? What other connections do I need to make sure that those things start to become a yes? And I was just willing to do whatever it takes, and I still am to this day. So retirement, I envision my retirement of being, yeah, man, maybe I'll own an island in the Bahamas. Maybe it's possible. People do. I mean, Richard Branson didn't even finish high school, man.
Hmm.
People lose track of these things, right? I mean, what gave him the confidence in England to start his record company in a basement of a local office building or house? Right? Some people are just capable and willing to do the necessary things and put the fear aside. And you just have to find a little courage. Hopefully, you can find some courage. Courage is what acting in the face of fear. Yeah, like I'm not stupid. If I was out on a safari in Africa and I saw a lion, I'm not going to think I can get down there and pet the lion. I mean, there's real fear around that.
Yeah.
Right. So being honest about it, but something inside of me, I was able to overcome that fear quicker. And I don't know, man. Maybe it was just because I was a little bit more committed. Maybe that's the thing.
What were some of the activities that you did do those first few years to build a business of relationships, customers that you could serve?
I talked to everyone every day, everywhere, at every opportunity I had. And I was telling them what I was doing, man.
I'm stopped.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It didn't matter if I was at pumping gas at a gas station. It didn't matter if I was walking through a grocery store. No, wherever it was, I put a smile on my face and I was engaging with them. And when you have an engaging, charismatic effort with a positive energy, and you have an approach where you're willing to, people want to talk to you. And when they start talking to you, it just naturally comes out what you do because you're so passionate.
And were you like were you intentional about it? You
No,
were
no, no, I wasn't smart enough at 25 to know what the algorithm completely was. No, I didn't have it figured out. And what I have figured out now, I'm going to figure it out more each year, but I have it figured out way more now at 45 on what that 25-year-old kid should have done. That's how we're able to grow this real estate company I have, train, lead,
that's what I was
inspire.
yeah,
Yeah.
is that part of what drives you to do all that training that you guys do?
Man, it inspires me to help people take the same journey in the path that I've taken because a kid like me, how I grew up and where I came from, it's not that it's a significant, unique story, but if you listen to folks, you're not supposed to be able to accomplish and do the things I've done. If you listen to the rules of the world, follow the rules that everybody sets before us. Um, I just want to inspire people to let them know, like, hey, you're capable of a lot more than the world and the people around you have led you to believe.
Hmm.
And if you follow the things I did, you can do it a lot quicker than I did. And you can probably be it further down the road in the same. If you start at 25 and you hang around people like me, not just me, what did I hear the other day? Jim Rohn. I hadn't heard this one from a long time. The guy's so smart. I mean, you're talking about a mentor that's not around anymore. It still be our mentor. And he said, poor people need to take rich people to dinner. And that never happens. I didn't. So
Hmm.
now if there's what I consistently tell our agents that get into this business, we recruit a lot of new people. That's what we do. And we tell them, go find the 5 most influential people in your sphere, in your network. Go find them. Go find the 5 people that you would listen to, that you would ask their advice about anything in life, and go take them to lunch, take them to coffee, take them to dinner, and sit down and ask them if they'll share with you what they've learned, advice that they have, because those people want to share it. And then you ask them, say, hey, if there's anything I can do, you're in a position to probably help me than I am more you, but if there's anything I can ever do, give me a call. But it would be awesome if you would send me a referral for this thing I'm trying to build. If you come across someone, and I promise you, when you send me the referral, I'll give everything I've got to make sure that I validate the reason you're sending them to me. And
No.
I'll make you feel good and look really good for sending that person to me. I haven't come across too many people who have succeeded that don't want to help others. I haven't come across too many people.
What are some consistent ideas that come out through your show? You've got, the Necessary Entrepreneur
Oh,
is the
man.
podcast that you've been at for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
Some reoccurring patterns.
Man, it's all the same. And I somehow knew it was going to be the same. We end up talking to a lot of business people, not just business people, but you you have to have done something in your life that I consider necessary
Oh.
that I want to talk to. And
Hmm.
there are local media stars that have been on. There's people a guy who built the largest food truck company in the world, a company called Kona Ice. One of the
Wow.
co-founders, one of the co-founders of the company called Lids that so many people know. There's everybody on here. It's not about a financial number they've achieved, but they've done something unique and different that other people around them didn't. And what you hear about there's a resilience built in. Every person that comes on that has succeeded in some way. There was the guy who's the not just all business people, but the guy who is the president or chair of the National Emergency Room Nurse Organization. He's an emergency room nurse, and he has a social media following. He's been on some
Wow.
really cool shows on YouTube about ER nurses, but there's a resilience built in that they have. They know that failure's coming. They accept it. They accept that there's going to be really hard days. And they have a built-in DNA that, man, they just don't quit. They just don't. And what it appears to everyone is it appears that they were an overnight success. Because to the rest of the world that wasn't watching on the grind on the way up, they didn't see any of that because they weren't paying any attention. And so what happens is that it appears from the outside these people just had a good idea. But really what happened was they had a stick-to-itiveness and a refusal to quit and a determination and a persistence to get through the really tough moments that kept them on course, like a ship guiding a captain guiding a big ship in the ocean. And so there's that. There's a belief in themselves. There is, and I think the belief in themselves probably leads to the attribute of not quitting. There's self-confidence that these folks share, and I didn't say smartest. You're not going to hear that come out because I think if I took an IQ test, I have no idea where I'd be on it. But all the people that come on, we don't share an IQ. But what happens is they've compounded their intelligence and knowledge in the world, and they believe in themselves. They really believe, man. And that's so important because the alternative, I come across a lot of people that want a better life, that have a vision on what their life could be, that think about all the material things that would make them smile and make them happier. What they don't know is the material stuff doesn't mean shit. The ability to buy the material things is the key. And so, but so many of those people never get to the point where they're capable to be the individual, to be really relevant in a capitalistic market-based system where their skills are really well because they don't believe in themselves. Self-confidence is, if I could give everyone one thing in life, I would give them a shot of self-confidence that made them wake up in the morning and just believe that they could do the thing that they want.
Hmm.
And the people who don't achieve these things of the individuals I talk to on the podcast, they don't have that, man. It's almost to the T. You have
Wow.
confidence, you believe in yourself, or you don't.
The first 3 episodes that you were hosting relative to the last three,
Disaster.
Mark, and which is
Oh, disaster. If I were to grade them, it'd be disaster level. Like, why would this guy ever think that he should do 4? Because here's what, there's one of the most impactful thought leaders and gurus of our current time. I don't know if I should drop names because I don't know. I don't want to make sure that I'm not involved in anybody's coaching program. I'm not. And that may be a shortcoming that maybe I should pay money and do it because usually coaches need coaches too. So I haven't paid to go to any of these person's seminars. But I like something that Tony Robbins said. I like something he said. He said, he talks about the tyranny of how. And I just heard this in the past year. He's probably been saying it for a decade or two. But I'm going to paraphrase and probably not get it exactly right, but people can go out on social media and find it. But he said, when you start to do something or you want to do something and you're a person that stops to ask how, you're pretty much screwed. And you know how we make these statements? I don't know if they're factual 100% of the time, but you start to see trends come together. And back when the podcast started, everyone could go on YouTube and type in like how to do a podcast. Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of things, just like before we got on here today. We had some technical issues in the studio. Those are every day of everything I do in my life. And so if I were to go back and listen to those three, oh, wow, that guy's going to sound like he doesn't know how to ask a question. He doesn't know how to pause at the right time. He doesn't know how to not interrupt other people when I'm supposed to be interviewing them and listening to them. It's not about me. It should be about your guest. Everything about those three episodes were bad and no one would want to listen to them. However, I couldn't have been here without those. And I think probably the 21st is as important as the second. I think the 54th is just as important. And what I told everyone in the beginning, this is why it's so important to commit to the outcome. You mentioned I'm coming up on 100. That's hard to get to. There's a lot that is going, you know that. You've done multiple podcasts for a long time, man. You've been at this game for a while, and you're going to do 1,000 this year or something.
600.
That's a lot. And so my 100's insignificant, but there's something about this 100. How many people do you think get to 100 that ever start a podcast? How many get to 100?
I mean, I don't know the hard data, but I think it's definitely less than 1%, like maybe even a tenth of a percent
Yeah. And so I just know that somebody
out
that
of
doesn't,
millions.
yeah, which is nuts. I
Yeah,
just
so
know that,
congratulations, by the way.
well, no, I appreciate it, but I don't deal with accolades well. Maybe I need to improve that in life. And the reason why I don't, because I'm like, man, I'm not focused on what's happened. There's so many things yet to still do. And I know Emmitt Smith back in the day, there's a commercial where he talked about after he won a Super Bowl, they're like, hey, how long did you stop to enjoy it? And he's kind of, what do you mean enjoy it? And he said, and they showed him on a bench press. And he brought the bench press down and he let it sit there for about a second and then back up. He's like, that's how long I appreciated and enjoyed it. And then it's on to the next Super Bowl. So that's a part of the person that also doesn't look at this retirement piece the same way.
This
There's,
is why I just I I love you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's, thanks, man.
Thank you for saying this.
There's always more to do. And I don't, and here, but also, Jay, this isn't painful to me. Like for the person that it's really painful to, I guess that's the person that needs to work towards retirement. And I don't want to cast like shame on them at all because this world does need all sorts of people. Like my mom, man, she is one of the top 3 people in my life that are just an awesome human being. And there's only a couple things I really learned from her, but she was a nurse. That was her profession. And that's what she wanted to be. She wanted to be a nurse and she wanted to have kids. That's it. She didn't want to be rich. She didn't want to be an entrepreneur. She wanted to do all these things. And so she still lives in her little country house that I was actually born in. I was born in the house.
Wow.
That could speak to like how I was raised. I wasn't born in the hospital. I was born in the house.
Wow.
And so with her, man, she's almost 80 years old now. And she is one of the most content, satisfied, happy people ever. And she didn't. I had a dad that wasn't the guy that he should have been. And so if I want to hold out the stuff he put me through in life, imagine what he put his wife through. And she's the one that still had to go to work and work double shifts and keep a roof over our head and make sure we could eat without thinking of herself. And so her goal wasn't to do the things that I want to do. She wouldn't do a good job as a real estate agent. But at the same time, man, I think she's lived a way better life I don't think I've yet made an impact on anybody the way that she made an impact on me. So then I would make an argument. She probably fulfilled her capabilities. She probably went out into the world and did the things and led by example and impacted the folks the way that she should have with her life. So I think retirement looks different, but yeah, I don't, this idea of how I live my life, the perspective I have, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I can't imagine living it any different way because it gives me what I believe total control of my life. And I think that's what's important. I'm not waiting for anyone else to do anything for me. When they do show up in my life and do something for me, you're going to be in my inner circle. But I show up every day for me and do everything I need to have the life I want. And to me, that's not painful. Some of the stuff is painful, but the way I live my life is not painful. And yeah, man, like balance. I think balance is bullshit. I just do. Like I had my significant other. She just got back from Cancun last night, and she was there on all inclusive for spring break. She's in the education field, and quite successful. Started out as a teacher, and she's ramped it up through many, many ranks. But she was able to go on spring break. I didn't go. And so she went with her family, nieces and nephews. But I FaceTimed her from the balcony of my office building when we had the eclipse. And she FaceTimed me and showed me the beach. And I got to live a little bit vicariously through her. And I took off my glasses that I was looking at the eclipse with, and I put them in front of my iPhone and let her see the eclipse. So, like, is that not balance? Is that not living a pretty good life and going all in every day for everything that shows up? Absolutely, it is. I don't have to be in Mexico for every vacation for me to have balance in my life. Maybe I'm back here doing the stuff that my mom showed me how to do. But I will go to North Carolina, the Outer Banks this year. I'll do that. Right? I'll have some moments like that. I just spend my 24 hours different than most folks, man.
When you're talking about mom,
Yeah.
I feel like that was a really strong metaphor for. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do we get sales to respect and love operations the way you love and respect mom? Because reason I thought immediately that how operations plays a role in an organization, the way like when you said mom made me who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like that dichotomy between
Yeah.
sales and operations. So my question is, how do we get sales or the out extra, those right, out there to love and respect
Man.
operations the way that you glorified
Let
mom?
me share. Let me share something from my for a text I got from one of my leaders on my team. I received this. We had a tough situation, man. When you're selling thousands of homes like my real estate company does, there's gonna be problems. Problems every day. Hundreds of realtors. There's just problems every day. And there was a problem where I don't have to get involved in the situations too much. I have an awesome leadership team, these people that came up through the company. We just try to really do a great job. But I got pulled into a situation where people were throwing around lawsuits and all types of stuff. When that happens, I'm going to get involved. And so I got involved, got out in front of the train, picked up the phone, called an attorney who was threatening to sue people, then actually called the client, who that client's normally 4 or 5 steps away from me. Clients of our realtors there's no reason for them to ever need to talk to me usually. But I got on the phone. I spent 45 minutes last night and talked to both parties about 7 o'clock at the office. And I sat down with the agent and with our training director. And I got on the phone and talked to him. And here's what she sent me, the training director sent me. And this is going to lead into this. She sent me a text here at 8:25 last night. So I have the phone. I'm sitting here reading it. Thank you for tonight, period. I told his name, let's just call his name Jeff. It's not, but I told Jeff that if every one of our agents could see what happened tonight, they would understand that this is what Pivot is, that this is the level of support they each have here. If they understood, they would never leave. I appreciate you. Hope my significant other had an awesome trip. I've been doing this for 16 years with this company. Not a serial entrepreneur. I have other investments and stuff, but not a serial. This has been my thing. And I do the same thing, man. For every single person that comes to work at this company that I started and others are helping me build, I do exactly for them what my mom did for me. And family is overused too much in business, way too often. Teams are overused. But man, I treat everybody in my life as if they were my family. I treated my customers that way on the way up. I treated other agents that way on the other end of deals that way. We call them preferred partners, mortgage companies we work with, closing attorneys, inspection companies, people who sell warranties. We have only turned over one of these preferred partners in this network in 16 years that I've run this company.
Wow.
And these other companies go all in for us. And so the things that I learned from my mom, and the awesome thing is it doesn't have to be from a mom. If you don't have a mom that's not doing that for you, it could be, I guess, a coach. It could be a teacher. It could be a mentor somewhere. But if you have an opportunity to be around someone that really lives their life in a truly selfless manner, there's a lot you can learn. And if you take that and apply that to every part of your life, whether you're an employee somewhere, if you're operating a company, and so you just have to care about people equally, if not a little bit more than yourself, and treat them the way you treat them your family. And you're going to wake up at some point in the future and you're going to have a really, really good life. So I just, I still sell a few homes myself, man, but nobody sees my marketing anywhere. You're not gonna see my name on a bus or a billboard. The company, it's my job to promote the company and our agents. But I still have a few people that call me that I've worked with over the decades.
Wow.
And I've had 2 or 3 transactions in the past few weeks, listing these homes. And the type of text that I get from people after the transactions are over, you get those from really good friends. You get those from people that are considered family. You get those where they really feel like, wow, you're different, man. And what everyone should know that's around me, if I can be different where I came from, so can they. And so this just goes back all the way in the beginning when I don't care if you're 45 years old starting this new. I don't care if you're 53 and starting this new. You spend some time around the right people for 2 or 3 years, going all in, you can change your life and reset the trajectory that you're experiencing.
When you were a kid, did you have pictures of houses to be sold around your
No,
bed, and that you were
no, this
dreaming?
no. See, that's what's crazy too, man. Like this isn't. I guess, boy, it's awful easy to be a billionaire, and I got a shot to be a billionaire. I got a shot. There's some things have to go the right way, but I've got a legit shot. You ask the people around me about my perspective, my attitude, I could. The reason why I say that is it's so easy right now to be a billionaire, and their advice to us tends to be like you gotta find out what you love. You gotta figure the thing that you're completely passionate about, and then go all in with that, and then you'll live BS, man. No, I didn't decide to get a real estate license until I was taking non-traditional college courses in night school at a
Mm.
little school in northern Kentucky called Thomas More College, which is Thomas More University. I'm not Catholic, but it was a Catholic school. And an adjunct professor, through getting to know me through one of my marketing classes, I told him I was burnt out. I was going to leave this retail gig. I'd helped these guys. I was influential, training all their managers. I said, I'm going to leave this thing. And I'm 24 or 25. And I said, man, I'm burnt out, which means you've lost your passion. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And he said, you should be in commission sales. And I went, yeah, a lot of people tell me that I should be in commission sales. I said, what do you think I should do in commission sales? He's like, I don't know, man, maybe get your real estate license. And so what I did was I went and investigated getting my real estate license because somebody in a leadership role who cared, who was a nice guy, I took his advice. And I went and looked at the real estate business and went, okay, I understand my abilities. I could crush this business. And I decided to start down that path because I saw there's things in life called opportunity cost. If you've ever taken an economics class, you learn that. And I saw that if I took my time and I went and sold big things with big commissions and did a great job, wow, what a life. Just took the person I was and applied it to that, man. So this thing about waiting to find your passion, it is BS. You should actually make a choice that's going to give you the life that you want for a career, for a job, for an entrepreneurial venture, and then go all in with it. You're probably going to get what you want.
You inspired this thought. I want your thought on. You don't need passion for what you do. You need passion.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Passion is faith in people and a love to serve.
Pretty simple, man. You got to quit thinking about yourself. Any environment I went into when I wanted to sell something, it had to be about the person that I wanted to buy the thing. Can't be about the 10 grand I wanted to make in a commission. Couldn't be about the new car I'm going to be able to drive. Couldn't be about me putting the stat on a board and bragging to other people. It needed to be about that person and what could I help solve about their life, that this thing I was selling was going to engage with them for something they needed. And just let me be the best human being and show them that I'm going to serve them at a high level. People will buy it. Seems simple to me.
On that note, the real estate culture today. What's your state of the union? Where are we at?
Oh,
Where have we come from? Where do we need to go?
man, it's the reason why I named my. I mean, are these like setup questions for me, Jay?
I have so many more, so just keep
All
going.
right, so I named this company Pivot. I wear this stuff every day, man. Like, even though I'm not like the guy. See, I'm not the guy. I interview people on my podcast. I recently interviewed a guy that's getting ready to come. I don't even interview. Had a conversation. These are conversations. Had a conversation with a guy. His name's Marcus Collius. This guy's legit, man. He's out of Calgary. I don't ever heard of him. He just wrote a book, Play a Bigger Game. If you guys, hundreds of thousands of followers, all the stuff, all the metrics on Instagram. My body doesn't look like Marcus's. That dude, if you go to his Instagram, I mean, he's ripped beyond ripped, man. He's got the 6'2", 6'4" body. He's got the pictures hanging out with Tony Robbins. So he built an incredible life, had a supplement company. So I'm sitting here and my body doesn't look like his right now. But I don't know how I got off on that tangent. What was the question that you asked?
Real estate culture.
Oh, yeah. So here's
Where
what I'm
it's
saying. Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
where we've come from.
Pivot. Yeah. So, man, I named it Pivot for a reason. It's not that the company that I worked for was a bad company. No, you don't build 1,200 agents being a bad company, right? But they were just okay. They were just normal. They were good at the game that residential real estate brokers were playing. They were just better at that game. And the game was put a bunch of butts in seats, have as many people get a real estate license as you possibly can, because all of them tend to be independent contractors, minus a few companies. I walked in the first day I had a real estate license, man. I walked into the sales manager's office, received the license. You're coming in for your initial orientation. And this is how it went. He said, "How much do you want to make?" That 25-year-old, almost 25 years ago, said 100 grand. That 100 grand is probably 250 now. But I said 100 grand. He said, okay. He had a 8.5 by 11 sheet of piece of paper. He's writing a few things. He just filled out a template. And he said, okay, the average sales price right now in the marketplace is $142,000. If you're at our company, you're going to receive 3% if you list the home, if it's a 6% listing, 6 or 7% listing, and if you're a representative buyer's agent, receive 3% of that commission. That's what we work for. That's what other companies do, different things. But he said, so on average, on a $142,000 home, you're $4,200 for a commission. You'll be on a 50-50 split. That was the old days. You're going to make 20-something hundred bucks. So he said, you need to sell 50 houses at a $2,100 commission to make 100 grand, and turned it back around to me and said, good luck. That was it, man. That was what a broker was. Now, they had to operate a company and look out for the wall and all the branding and all that. But at the end of the day, it was their job to hire agents. They didn't do a good job of developing people. They didn't do a good job of making sure that their brand meant something in the marketplace other than this company sells a lot of houses. And so I just realized really quick in 12 to 18 months that I truly was just a number to them. And my clients were just a file folder to them. And I didn't like that. And I consistently was running up against that feeling and that idea. And I had this moment that I said, okay, I want to stay in this business because it feels good. It's good money, but it feels good, these things I'm selling and helping clients and people work through it. But I don't want to continue to work for a company like this. And I looked around the entire marketplace and there was no one that was really different. And so here's what I did. I sat down. I don't remember if it was a napkin. Man, that napkin's be worth $1,000,000 someday if I could find it. But I wrote down on that napkin, Mark the realtor, what attributes that I wanted a brokerage to have for me to work at. And then I went back into the marketplace to try to find it. And it was nowhere to be found. So then I realized, man, I did not want to start a company. I didn't. This was not a goal of mine. But I realized if I'm going to be in real estate and I want a company that has these attributes for Mark the realtor to work at, it's going to be necessary that I start it. And so then I said, what do I call it? And I said, man, I'm going to have a company that looks completely different than all these others. So we're going to pivot away from what this industry has always been. We're going to challenge commissions at a level. I'm going to hire brand new people and not just go recruit agents from other companies and get them to be sellouts. I'm truly going to help people change their lives. I want to help people do for their life what I did for mine. And that has been our consistent story for the past 16 years. I want consumers to feel different about this company, and not different just to be different. I want them to walk away. It's not possible for every transaction, man. That's the story from the top, because you're just going to have a few problems. But my goal is really to have every consumer walk away from every one of our transactions and feel like, man, one of our agents was a difference maker. And then every day when I convince these agents to go all in for their wife and spend 50 or 60 or 70 and 80 hours on some of these weeks, that they wake up in 24 months, they wake up in 36 months, and they know they were a part of something that truly helped them change their life. And I just think the real estate company and the brokerage that we want, it's a vehicle for our clients to live better lives and our agents at the same time, man. I don't get caught up on like all these other metrics and stuff. It just needs to make our lives better. And that is not what the residential real estate industry is. I don't give a shit. They can hate me. Man, they've been trashing me and my company. When I started this company locally, and I hope there's some people that listen to this, I'm a guy who used to get along with people. They gave me in Northern Kentucky, they give it to one agent every year. They gave me the Rising Star in Real Estate Award 16 years ago. And ever since I started this company and we started challenging the way it's always been done, boy, you should line up and hear all the shit talking that's been done. So when you're trying to do something different and you're going to swim against the stream, it's going to be really hard. But there's some things happening with the industry in 2024 that's starting to say maybe I was right.
What's happening?
I mean, there's these lawsuits, man. Everybody's hearing about them, right? It's these commission lawsuits. So the Justice Department's getting involved. The National Association of Realtors has agreed to pay $480 million. And it's about this shared compensation model with NMLSs. And they're saying it's some antitrust and all. It's not true. I mean, the way the media is talking about it, it's not honest. If there was fraud in the way that people communicated, it'd be fraudulent. Like all the big media platforms, all the local stuff. We've been my company for 16 years, we've been challenging commissions the way they've been paid since the beginning. And so if we're here, they can't say there's antitrust all over the industry. And so the reality is that this business, it is really hard. And because it's really hard, a really good agent, man, they work 7 days a week. You know them.
Yeah.
They work 7 days a week, Jay. And not only do these good agents work 7 days a week, they take calls at 11 o'clock at night, man. We have to treat every single client like they're our only one. And if you're a top agent and you're handling 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals at a time, man, you're all in. And there's not many people that have to do that for their jobs. Not many. Man, even people who are really good service providers, like we love doctors and nurses and we love firefighters and police officers and stuff. But you know what, man? A lot of times they put in 8 and 10-hour days. A really good agent, you know some of them, man. There's no 8 and 10-hour day for a top agent. And so by default, you make a lot of money. And if you're going to give your life up to your industry and to your clients, whatever you're doing at that level, you should expect a lot of money because you're exchanging something. And so anybody who gives that level of effort, like imagine people when they work overtime, they get time and a half. They get more money. And so I think agents maybe are just too flashy. We're making these big commissions. People are getting wealthy. But yeah, you know what, man? But there's 70%, 8% of the people who get a real estate license that fail out in 18 months. This is really hard. And so we make a lot of money when we're really successful. And there's an idea that there was this commission that was set within the industry. Absolutely not. There are companies in every marketplace in this country. If you want a lower commission, you can find a lower level of service normally, just like everything we do. And so we're getting a bad rap right now. The bad rap's a bunch of BS because the top agents that I see in marketplaces that work for our company and even others in our marketplace, man, they make differences in people's lives. And so we get a bad rap, but I think, but the brokers, to wrap this thing up, the real estate brokers that hire agents that allow them to be underneath my umbrella, they're the ones that have screwed this up. It's not the National Association of Realtors. It's the brokers that want to have 50,000 agents and 100,000 agents, and it's all volume, but yet there's no accountability, man. Like there's no accountability for a level of service that an agent's going to provide. There's no accountability on this is what our brand stands for. These are our principles. These are our values. This is the culture we stand for. They'll keep people in seats that sell 3 houses a year that do a terrible job, man. And they just let them stay there because they make a little bit of money off of them. And because of that, then you have consumers that are getting a lower experience, lower level of experience from a less experienced agent who's not trying to go all in and drive a level of service. So we've caused this ourselves, but the media is full of a bunch of crap too, man. It's just the thing right now. But brokers suck. Brokers suck, man. Yeah, they suck. There's some that are really good. There's some around the country, man. There's a company that I follow up in the Minnesota marketplace, has 750 agents, does a great job. There's a brokerage up in Massachusetts in the Northeast that has 500 or 600 agents. They do a really good job. But I don't know, man. This industry just and there's a lot of companies now that this wouldn't be popular to say that MLM has evolved inside the real estate industry, multi-level marketing. It's all about the downline. And if you recruit somebody into the business, then I can make this cut off of them. There's influential people in the business now that are trying to become wealthy over just recruiting people that don't even own the company versus doing a great job as a real estate agent. Sucks.
How do you think that impacts the culture?
Oh, it sucks, man. Culture, there is no culture. I mean, there's a brand happening right now. This happens over and over and over, man. They just come up with a new thing and sell all the agents that bought into the previous new thing to come do the new thing with us again. It's hilarious. I'm not going to even get sued and defame anybody and even drop any of these brands, but if anybody in the industry knows what it is, I mean, it started with a brand 4 times ago. Then someone left that brand and started one that then had 100,000 agents. Then everybody there drank the Kool-Aid, man. Nothing wrong with it. Like, have a brand, drink the Kool-Aid, wear it. But they just said they're the best thing ever. The funny thing was when someone left that brand and started this next thing that convinced people they can make more money, they quit drinking the Kool-Aid, forgot they had said all those things, and then went to the next thing. And that happened. And that company built 80 to 100,000 agents recently. And now there's a new thing that's popping up in a different state. And now you see these huge team leaders, 150, 200 agents, 300. They're saying, wow, I wouldn't listen to that thing. I thought they were terrible. I thought that they were ridiculous. Ours was the thing. And then finally I woke up and now that's the thing. It's a joke, man. And what I know is it's just going to be the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So what that means is there's no culture, man. There's no real culture. And you have the culture, man. You're the culture podcast guy, man. I mean, you know. I'm sure that you're pretty passionate around this subject and these ideas.
I'm so happy somebody's saying something.
Well, it's just BS, man. They're just so protectionist. I think, and guys like me, we don't always make the most money because we're not popular. But boy, in the quiet moments, people in my industry know that shit's the truth. And somebody's got to say this stuff, man, whether it makes a difference or not. And so what I do is put my head down, don't screw with the rest of the industry, and just do the thing that I'm passionate and I believe here. I think that's what people should do. Like, how about you run your business, run your life based on your fundamental principles and values, establish the culture that you think you want to be a part of, and go out and live it that way. And if other people think it's better than something else, they'll come and join it and want to do it with you. If you have to sell your thing too much, yeah, it might not be the best. I saw Steve Jobs talk about quality, man. He has some of the best. There's so much good content out there. And everyone would say, well, he was a mean guy. Yeah, maybe he was. But, I wouldn't have this iPhone and we wouldn't have some of this incredible technology if that guy wasn't the guy he was. I'm sorry he was mean to a few people. but it is what it is. Read the book. There's incredible stuff. But he said what he found over the years was that Japanese brands never talked about quality. The American brands talked about quality. American brands marketed quality. Japanese brands didn't have to, because once consumers bought them and interacted with them, they realized they were the quality. And so that must have been cultural inside this cultural business, I'm assuming, of Japan. That's something about building quality automobiles.
Mm.
I mean, Honda now makes jets, quality motorcycles. There's a lot of technology that came out of Japan. There must have been something in the culture of that country that building a quality product mattered, because it was across many companies and not just one.
There's actually something to that. The Japanese, they're far less interested in their shareholders than they are their customers and their employees. They're far less, they take less off the table.
Well, it's a tough conversation, isn't
Right?
it?
Because that tension between profit's potential to innovate, as well as potential to you're either where that friction between innovating the
Yeah,
business and
yeah.
innovating one's personal life.
And yeah,
I
that's
got my
what's so
17,000 square foot house on the shore. At the same time, that could be what we needed to build that new technology department. So the Japanese, their culture, you talk about the oldest companies in the world are in Japan. They're like 1,000 years old.
yep.
It's another world.
Something special about, I think this is a good metaphor for when people say they want to buy local around these locales and around. There's something about a family business. There's something about a true small business. You see them consistently reinvesting in their building, in their people, having quality products. There's something about that when the person who created the thing, who truly created a culture of taking care of their people, our name means something. We care about the community. There's something about that they're so close to the customer. They're interacting with them every day. They're willing to spend more money to make their thing better. A lot of these huge businesses that are caring about shareholders that own a stock, that most likely the CEO probably didn't interact with the customer. I've heard stories about the Walmart CEO did and some, but not many. And also the wealthy people that own the stock have no clue what goes on in the business on a day-to-day basis. It's almost like they're investing in a separate business than the actual business that's operating and running. And I'm not speaking against it, man. I'm a capitalist at heart. I think if you can go out into the marketplace and you can prove that your thing is more marketable to consumers, then you win. But there is something about, we've lost a little bit about this idea that it's important to put out a quality product, give a quality service. And even if you have to spend some more money doing it, there's some that do it. And I think those people will win, but big companies, it's missing. I mean, look at what we're dealing with, what we're hearing in the media. I don't know any, but look what Boeing's dealing with right now. You hear about just, there's these people, these whistleblowers that are coming up within the company, and they're talking about quality control. I mean, there's a guy, unfortunately, he had deposition, I think a few weeks ago in South Carolina. And in between his days of deposition, it appears that the guy committed suicide because of the stress of his. Have you heard that story?
No.
Yeah, it's wild, man. He worked at Boeing for 30 something years, and he was testifying about the lack of concern for quality anymore within the company. And it's just wild. So there's something to this. I try not to tell people what to do. It's like, if you don't build a good business, you're not going to win. If you build a good business and you tell people about it, you probably will.
What are some of the values or ways of doing things around Pivot?
I think it comes from the culture that I want to work in. And I think our culture comes from the things we believe and how we behave. To me, that's what culture is. I don't know if it's the proper definition, but I believe culture are the things that you believe about yourself in the business and then the behaviors around it. I believe that consumers, and we happen to be a real estate brokerage. I also own commercial property where I lease to people and I have tenants. Same approach there. I believe that consumers deserve to be treated better and different than just a number. And the reason why I believe that is because other than real estate, I'm a consumer. And I know how I want to be treated when I go to a restaurant, when I go out and I buy a material product, when I buy a car, when I fly on a plane, when I go on vacation. I know how I want to be treated. And the way I want to be treated, I think, is similar to the way other people want to be treated. I don't need to be made feel special, but I want to be taken care of. And the product that I buy, I want to make sure it's a good product. And so I think it's very important for every day that people that come to join this idea of Pivot and what this company is and what we're building, I think it's very, very important that they identify that the customer's interest is at least as important as yours. It's very, very important. And then all of a sudden, our values and our principles on how we act are derived from that idea.
And what are some of those behaviors?
Yeah, I think that, man, if somebody, if your customer needs to talk to you, you pick up the phone. If stuff's getting really bad and there's some animosity happening within transactions, you actually drive to their house and you sit down in their living room and you talk to them. You deal with the problems head on. You negotiate for them how you would negotiate for yourself. The level of commitment that you make about your level of service and your level of expertise when you're trying to earn the business, it's essential that you live up to that within the transaction. You got to treat people well, man. There's something about the golden rule. There's something about you should treat people the way you should want to be treated, but one step further that ties back into my mom and what I talk about. You should treat everybody, man, as if they're your mom. Treat everybody the way you want your mom to be treated. And if you're a person that you don't like your mom, then find the next best person that you really care about and treat everyone the way you want that person to be treated.
If you, what would be the, what would be the antithesis to the idea of picking up the phone or being accessible? If I wanted to undermine that value or the anti-value, what does
Send
that behavior look like?
somebody a text. It's a joke. If somebody needs something, man, you're trying to fix problems via text now. You have confrontational issues and you're going to send a text. Come on, man. Everything's lost in translation over an email and a text. You're avoiding the problem. And that happens in our industry. I can't tell you how many times that real estate agents, even agent to agent, they won't pick up the phone and deal with the problem. And that goes back to the brokers. There's a problem in this world where we're not developing and teaching these soft skills anymore. It's a big issue. And it's like we want to teach them the practical application of buying and selling homes and negotiating contracts. But what you need to be is you need to be teaching problem solving skills. You need to be teaching conflict resolution. You need to be actually teaching what a true high level of service is, and then expect the people that are working at your company, expect for them to live up to it. And when you fall short, because when we inevitably do, someone's got to pick up the phone. Like I did yesterday in that deal that was bad. You pick up the phone, you call an attorney. Man, that's a risky call. That's a risky call to pick up the phone and call an attorney. That's risky. That's why people usually hire an attorney to call the attorney. But there's moments as a leader, you have to be good enough to do those things. And then you pick up the call and you call the upset customer. You pick up the phone, you call them, and you have a real conversation as a human and say, hey, if the only thing that comes out of it, you say, hey, we got your back. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I'm sitting here fighting for you. And something about a person with a really high level on how other people, vice president, an owner, a CEO, whatever it is, that person picking up the phone. Well, I'll tell you what, that's how you set culture in a company. You hear about taking out the trash. Don't ask other people to do something you're not willing to do. All right, well, pick up the phone. In the tough moments, pick up the phone. Yeah, and it's not always the thing you want to do, but you have to.
Negotiate for them like you would yourself.
Hmm.
So let's that you said that earlier. Let's say that we wanted to exemplify or articulate the anti-value. So what behavior undermines that or is the opposite of that?
Just care about the sale, baby. Let me get this thing closed. Convince them to pay whatever number they need to pay. Don't fight for whatever there's all these. It's not just about a price in a real estate deal. There are favorable items all throughout this. I'm not going to sit here and talk about real estate all day, but there's 20 or 30 different items within a deal, a normal resident, other than just the price. Fight for them. Get them what you know you would want. Actually put in a little bit extra effort. Spend a little bit more time on the phone, right? If it's not the right house they should buy, tell them not to buy the damn thing. Right? It just can't be. You can't look at people as a commission.
That
You
wait,
have
but
to.
that's counterintuitive to me getting my commission.
Yeah, but you know what? If you treat people the right way, at some point you're going to get that commission. That person's going to buy some. Man, I just closed a house recently for a customer, and they spent almost $1.3 million. That's a good price point in Cincinnati. It's a big commission. It's a $30-something thousand commission, and I started helping them 7 years ago.
Wow.
Now, I wouldn't teach that in class. If that's going to happen to you, you could probably spend your time more wisely as an agent, because it wasn't just showing a house every year to these people. But at the end, man, they ended up 7 years ago, their budget was 700. They just spent 1.3. But again, I received a text message after hundreds and hundreds of hours of representation and conversations and them really appreciating. We sold that house to them, sold theirs for them. The wife texted me and said, I really appreciate your patience throughout this process working with us, Mark. If I was trying to make it about a commission, I might have been able to get them to buy one of those other homes. I may have been able to convince them, because I'm pretty good at sales. I might have been able to convince them to buy a home that really didn't fit what I thought was going to be best for their family. And so, because we missed out on a couple houses, there were multiple offers. That's been something that's been real in the marketplace for the past few years. And yeah, man, we just make it about them and what's best for them that day, that week, that month, for their family, that year, for their true outcome. The commission will take care of itself.
I just wrote this. Sales without values is manipulation.
Oh, it's terrible, man. Here's what, manipulation's bullshit. What you should do is influence folks. See, there's nothing wrong with me using my professional skills and abilities to influence them making a good decision that's best for their outcome, because they're not always best at that. But to manipulate them for something that's truly not going to be in their best interest to get a sale, yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay.
Anti-value. Live up to the transaction. Live up to it. And I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting.
Hey, I know you've got good handwriting. I know it, huh?
Treat people well. It was live up to it. Live up to. Now I can see it. Live up to it in the transaction. Live up to
the
live
level
up to
the level of service
transaction.
that you committed to in the beginning. Like, see, when we're first giving somebody a sales pitch, man, you have a service that you provide to businesses and what you do. It's really easy for us to talk about how awesome and great we are when we're trying to get the business. Boy, just listen to us. We'll tell you how awesome we are. We'll tell you how great our system is. I'll tell you the difference I'll make in your life. I'll tell you all that. But man, that's hard to live up to at times. So you better be committed and willing to live up to that service commitment and that outcome that you're stating you can help people earn. You better live up to that every day when you're representing people. Yeah, so hence the reason why we make all this money, man. People think realtors are getting rich. The things I've just talked about, how often do people have to do that within their daily job? Come on, man. Not that. Those things aren't asked of somebody who's an employee that often. They don't. You can go in and check the boxes and get paid and fly under the radar. Now, the great ones, but those are the people that get promoted, that become higher level managers, that lead businesses. But that's not the majority of our country. The majority of our country gets to sign up for a job, accept a compensation, go in and put 8 hours, and sometimes sit at home and do it now, right? and give mediocre effort half the time, if we're really honest. And that shouldn't be okay. That shouldn't be okay. That should be the culture of our country. Because I remember growing up, we used to have a different culture. The culture of our country was how many times you say, hey, like, make sure you do the job you're paid for. No matter what you do it the best you can. Go all out. Give extreme effort. That was the culture of our country for the generations that built this. It almost seems like the majority of the citizens now, it's like, let me figure out how I can like do less work. Yeah, that's not going to be a good outcome for a country. Not. Like the big winners right now, see, that's why there's such a deviation in my belief of like the 1%ers in the top 5 and 10%. Man, Jack Welch, leading CEO, who's not with us anymore, the guys like that talked about this. They had the rule of they would rank people A, B, C's, and D's. They'd talk about 80-20 rules. They figured things out about human performance way before me and you were a human. And the unfortunate part is the people that are in the 80% only doing 20% of the business, they could be in the 20% if they want. They just have to be more committed, make some decisions every day, and actually do what they say they're going to do. And when they sign up for a job, do the best that they absolutely could. Yeah, we've got an issue with the culture, and I'm not mad about it. I'm passionate about it, but everybody keeps on waiting for somebody else to give them something more. Man, this thing is true. You have to do more than you're paid for. When you do a job better than you're paid for, someone else is going to pay you more. If that current company is paying you $50,000 to do a job, like do it so like you should be paid 80 grand and don't complain. And even if you do it for an extra year or two and they're still only paying 50 grand, the person that you're going to become while you're given that 80 grand effort is a person that someone else will pay you 80,000 for, even if this one doesn't recognize it. And then all of a sudden, this idea of compounding comes into your life. And that person that's capable of making 80 eventually makes 80. You take that same approach to the next job. Somebody pays you 80. Do the job of somebody at 100 or 120. Do it for 2 or 3 years. And then eventually what will happen is you'll become such a capable person. You'll wake up and you'll be someone who can start a business and run it better than that person running it. Playing the long game, man. Everybody's playing the short game these days. You got to play the long game.
Why?
You got these goals. Everybody has these goals that are aligned with a life that's playing the long game, but they're only willing to give it the effort for the short-term outcome. It's just not going to line up.
What do you think is behind that?
I think it's very admirable what happened to this country, man. I don't, the statement that everybody talks about strong men create whatever, and then those people create. So
Yep.
good times
Strong.
create weak people, man. That's the end
Yeah.
of it, right? And I think we are incredibly lucky, man. Me and you could sit here and talk about doing things the right way and culture and the way stuff should be done. And I could talk a little condescending and say people aren't doing it the right way. But the fact is that all of us that are a citizen of this country, like there's some other good countries around the world, but the ones that are a citizen of this country, we're so lucky. We are so lucky. And the luck also is because, man, we actually can do things with a lower level effort and do easier things and still have an awesome life because everything that the generations before us built. And so I think what has happened is I think parents, it's admirable what parents consistently do, man. And there's something about the DNA of a human. You hear them say, I want my kids to have a better life than me. A lot say it. And I think that's important. But also what they mean is, I want their life to be easier. And what they're missing is,
Wow.
Man, is the life that they think was hard, that they don't want their kids to live as tough of a life. That's what it developed the resilience, the capability, the ability to build what they had to give their kids the life that their kids are living. Their kids aren't going to have the same attributes, the same abilities, the same capabilities that when life gets real and tough, man, at 25, at 30 and 35, you better have some infrastructure and some girding inside of you that's willing to push through. That's not just going to take the easy road. So unfortunately, we're becoming a country of people that want to take the easy road. And in a generation or two, if we don't change it, that's going to unfold, that it's going to be tougher for their kids and their grandkids. So it's admirable what's happened. I don't think it's intentional. But what these parents should want is They should actually be there to support their kids and be the proper leader and the proper parent, but want their kids to do hard things and watch their kids fail and be there to pick them up. Because they actually once you can do hard things, you prove to yourself you can do hard things. And I think once we prove to ourselves that we can do hard things, then we do hard things. And then we do hard things, we live good lives, and we improve everybody else around us.
When was the first real estate asset you invested in? And
Myself.
why?
Myself. But I bought a house. That was the first thing. That's an asset. Like some of these people, man, there's a guy that runs around the country. I don't hate on people, but he says people shouldn't buy houses. Yeah, BS.
I think I find that a little ironic based on property rights, like being the foundational core of Western society. Like,
and what I'd love to do is nobody
bad
talks.
Advice.
Yeah, nobody talks to him about that. And what I'd want to do is
we should. Why don't we invite him on?
Yeah, we should. And here's the conversation. I would say,
I believe that you can do it.
Well, listen, I'd have a great conversation. I'm not going to be intimidated because I can also disagree with what he says, but have respect for what he's built. Like, kudos. Like, hey, dude, like, you don't have to shout at everybody. Like, you're doing big stuff and you're getting a lot of people to follow your thing, running one of the best conferences ever, writing the books. Like, I love the story. But at the same time, man, I just want to say his name and I'm not going to. But at the same time, not everybody's like you, man. Not everybody has traveled the path that actually has the brain you have now. They don't have the same financial intelligence that you have, man. The average person wants to go out here and have a family. They want to raise a kid or two and live a good life. And then they all of a sudden want to have grandkids. People at my life now at 45, they're starting to talk about their kids maybe having grandkids. It's crazy. And so those people need to buy homes. Because there's something that happens when someone buys a home, you take control of your life a little bit more. You realize you don't have to ask the person if you can paint walls. You don't have to live next door to people you don't want to live next door to. If you have a loud neighbor, like, okay, like sell your house and take that equity and move somewhere else. Like you have control of your life. And then all of a sudden what happens is you're building equity. The argument of the person that says we shouldn't buy homes says you should take your down payment, and you should take the money that you're making towards that mortgage every year, and then all the improvements, fixing roofs and fixing HVACs. They say you should take all that money, just pay rent to them because they own apartment buildings. Just pay rent to them and take all the extra money that you're wasting on owning a home and invest that. Okay, in that ivory tower on a hill, that sounds awesome. But here's what I know happens, Jay. The only way that works is if that individual lives in that rental home and maintains their same lifestyle, doesn't have lifestyle creep when they make more money, and takes every extra penny and invests it. That doesn't happen. That's not reality of how humans live their life. And so
that actually undermines human psychology.
100% it does, man. 100%.
That would actually, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no. I want this to be a conversation. So, I actually see when people buy a $300,000 home and they make their payments and they're living a good life and their kids are playing sports and they get to go on vacations and they wake up in 8 years. Sometimes there's housing bubbles that burst, and short term, the value of their home goes down. But track this thing back 60 and 70 and 80 years and look at the value of real estate. I actually have experienced so many times, man, over the past 19 years being in this business, where people, once they bought a home and once they were able to get into home ownership and they made their payments and they stayed there for 5 to 7 to 8 years, they built equity. And that home is worth a decent amount more than what it was. And what they get to do is when they have a kid or have 2 kids or they want to get a bigger house, they get to sell this home, take the equity that's been built up, and put that down on the next home without having any more investment whatsoever.
I'd like to add your thoughts on this. That's actually leverage without risk.
100%.
Because leverage with risk is financial leverage.
Yep.
That's leverage off the culture.
100%.
Correct? Or
100%. You're right, man.
But
and not in the same way
to look at it.
Yeah.
That's you're leveraging the culture's appreciation, essentially.
Yeah, man. I think listen, there's a mistake that we make in this world that everybody should act and think like all of us, man. That we should.
I have a quote that came from this. that I want your thoughts on.
Yeah,
Speaking in absolutes is a consequence of ideology.
100%.
Ideology is anti-culture.
Yeah. Ideology, man. And it's like, I'm the guy, I won't talk about it here because people just, you can't talk to people that have an ideology that they're just dead set in. And I was raised in that environment, man. I was raised in a religious environment. I'm not going to talk about anything beyond that, but I was. And that's very ideological. I don't care what religion your thing is, it's ideological. And I was raised to believe that my religion was the one. And then we judged everybody else. And whether they want to say they did or not, we did. And they convinced us that the thing we believed was going to take us to another place in life and afterlife that everybody else wasn't going to participate in. That's ideology. And so, what it caused us to do the way I was raised, it caused me to judge other people and think that the way they were thinking wasn't right. Yeah, that's just a bad way to live life, man. That's how politics happens. That's how religion happens. That's how we believe everybody should think just like us, make the same financial decisions. Yeah, that person that's probably a billionaire now that says we shouldn't buy homes, man, the life he's living is not the right life for everyone. It's not. It's not going to be their best life. We started off in the beginning. Just realize what you're really capable of and what your best.
Mm.
Not everybody is that. But I give him kudos. Like, great, dude. You're making impacts. You're building wealth for you and for other folks. But I see a lot of happy people that live in their home that they own and they raise their family, man. And I'm closing on a house. A $725,000 home in a nice neighborhood here in Northern Kentucky for some people that become friends. I sold it to them 8 years ago, helped them remodel it. Good story behind it. They paid $350,000 for that home 8 years ago,
Wow.
but they invested 120 in it. It was dated. Invest 120, and then they have probably a total investment of $500,000 in it. But see, they bought equity from their first house, so all they had was a $300 and something thousand dollar mortgage. We're closing on it on the 20th of May. They moved there because their son wanted to go to a specific high school. They moved 30 minutes closer. He's graduating high school. They're going to be moving to the Tampa area in Florida. Kudos to them. And when they close on the 20th, they're walking away with a check for $411,000. And they were able to live their life the way they lived it. The jobs
Wow.
they went to, put him in the school they wanted him to put into, had friends come over and experience with their family. He was born in England, and there's been multiple times that his brothers, one of them lives in Tennessee, one lives in England. People have come around the world and stayed there in their pool, in their backyard, and had amazing experiences in that home. There's no one that could convince me that they should have gone and rented a place and been able to have the same experience. And also, what I know is they ain't walking away with $411,000. And how many people think saving $1,000 a month on their mortgage, $12,000 a year, making that investment are willing to live a long-term decade investment while renting a place that gives them not the same life experience there? The $411,000 is going to give them a great life to continue on and go down to Florida. Ideology is just not good, man. To your point, it's an awesome quote you've put together. It is anti-culture.
And anything anti-individual is as just about as anti-culture as one could get.
I agree with you.
And I think people like yourself that can instigate these types of conversations in an articulate, um, not divisive, where we're using people's names in vain or anything of that nature, right? I respect that of you. Like, I'd rather talk to the person face to face if I'm going to use
Yep.
their name.
Yep.
So I think to be, and the what you said earlier about essentially you can disagree with the idea and still respect the person's career or accomplishments. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also something we're losing in this culture, that I'm really proud to be able to have an opportunity to share you with our audience to exemplify those values. Um, but thanks for bringing it up, because I don't see a lot of voices having the conversation, or any voices combating some of this greater, this bigger idea that seems to be growing in the last decade that I've been in and around personal development of, against home ownership and against it seems as a culture student and, also a teacher in various contexts,
Mhm.
we, we, our founding fathers died for property rights, the right for property. We better get it together and remind ourselves the importance and the value of having a home and protecting it and defending it and being proud of it, and how that morphs us and evolves us into people, not children, but adults. Like, oh my God, I think, you come back again just for this topic, maybe even.
Man, I think that it's really weird, but owning a home and the things that are necessary to maintain that home, you become a better human and more capable of going out here and like when you have to fix a broken thing at your house, it does something to your brain that you're able to go do more
Responsibility.
things. It is, man. It is.
Because
It's
I'm a,
just
when I we just closed on our house, I'm
congrats.
accountable. Thank you.
Mhm,
To my first home, by the way.
mhm. How
Where
good's that feel? How good's that feel?
it's you can't put a price on it because I'm becoming a person.
It's a legit part of who we are as a country,
And there were
man.
all these people that I had to service or service us and meet with, and the garage and the pool and then this and then that. And I'm accountable to the town and to my neighbors. I can't just do whatever the heck I want. Like, I'm accountable to the community and the tax and the this and the that. The more things I'm accountable for as an individual, the more I need to be able to respond.
The more grown up we become, man.
Responsibility.
100%.
What's happening?
Yeah. Um, I just, man, I hope our society and our culture is going to be more resilient and reset. I hope. There's nothing I'm personally as an individual going to be able to do about it. If not, I can just do things the way I think are best and share it a little bit with folks and try not to be as judgmental and make an impact and difference in people's lives here. But it seems to me that there are a lot more people that aren't speaking on this, that care about it, that are doing things the right way. And we know it. Every part of society, just the loud folks are the ones that are getting the attention, and the people that are really loud tend to be like wacky, man. They tend to be the ones that just don't represent the majority of us.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and I think the majority of the folks that I see in our country are the ones that are putting their head down working every day. Because if that weren't the case, man, our hospitals wouldn't run, our infrastructure wouldn't run, fire departments wouldn't run, local, state, and federal government wouldn't run, our military wouldn't run, grocery stores wouldn't run. Like our world is still operating. However, I think we're like in a moment of decision, it feels like. I think that's the culture war maybe that's happening in the country is are people going to understand what's necessary, how we need to act,
Mm.
how we need to be responsible, the things that we need to participate in taking care of, the respect we need to have for others. It's almost like we're actually wondering like, "Oh, do we actually need to do that?" Because those people did it for us in our lives. But do we need to do that the way that the folks, the greatest generation, all the people that after World War II, right, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, like maybe we just need to go back there a little bit and think about the things those folks did and how they were willing to sacrifice and how they were willing to contribute to society and how they were willing to treat people. And so, yeah, I think we're having a debate right now. I hope the debate wins that we're all supposed to be responsible. I hope that we're supposed to have just built-in natural respect for other folks until they decide they don't deserve it, right? Until they act in a way that they shouldn't. Um, I'm hoping it's going to win, man. I
Did
hope
you
it
think
does.
about any of this before you founded the Necessary Entrepreneur podcast? Because it seems like there is apprehension for you to do it, but it's necessary.
Yeah, I didn't want to, man. I didn't even want to be a voice of my company. I didn't want to be the person out in the public, man. I just wanted to grind every day and show people how to do it. I didn't, and we're now starting to build a content team. We're like the turtle racing the hare. Most people say they're the turtle and say they're going to do it and don't, but we do execute the people around me. And so I didn't want to have to do a podcast. I didn't want to build content. I don't need the pictures, man. I don't need the awards. I don't need to be on stage, but the problem is somebody needs to. Somebody that actually is leading the right way and cares about folks and trying to operate companies the right way. Someone that when they screw up, they're willing to raise their hand and be like, man, that sucks. I screwed up, but let's make sure we do it next time. And I didn't want to be that, but we're starting to figure out how to place me in that position, I'm not changing the authenticity. We're just figuring out how to tell the story.
Mm.
We're figuring out like to make sure we control the narrative so other folks don't, you know. But yeah, I didn't want to be it, man. It wasn't comfortable for me. I can get up on stage. You could right now invite me to any conference, and I'd probably have some apprehension about 20 seconds before I'm going to go on stage. And it's going to get real. But you could put me in a stadium of 10 or 20,000 people. I'd have no problem standing up there talking to them. I might start off with a couple things and my brain going haywire, but I'd get into it real quick and I'd engage and I'd control the audience and try to weave them with some impactful moments. I just didn't want to play the role, but man, somebody's got to, man. Yeah. Too many of the 70% of this country who are doing things the right way took their time operating their lives and weren't trying to go and be influencers, man. The people who want to be influencers, that's the people who shouldn't be. So yeah, I didn't want to be. We're starting to do some stuff. So I'm sure in the next 3, 4, 5 years, I'm sure whatever I'm associated with, whatever's happening on social media, what Pivot's going to become, and who knows what. I'm sure it's going to make some impacts.
What's the vision at this point?
Yeah, man. I know I can become a billionaire. I don't care about the billion, but if a guy like me gets a hold of $1 billion, I'm going to make a big difference. I'm going to be able to really improve a lot of people's lives. And I think the way that you can help people improve their lives is starting to help them challenge the way that they've been taught to think. And whatever that format looks like, I sit on the board for a nonprofit locally. It's called Educate NKY. We're starting to look at traditional education in a different way, putting together business leaders and questioning the narratives. Yeah, you give a guy like me $1 billion, man, I'll fly on the jet, but I already have the nice cars. I already live in a nice enough house. Like I don't need anything bigger than that. But yeah, I think your wife, yeah, your vacations look different. But my wife now is so good, man. Working my 80 and 100-hour weeks. I'm going to do a lot with a lot of money. And that vision is making people believe that they really can go out here and impact the world in positive ways and care about others. And it gives them a really great life too. And we can do it with whatever our business looks like. We can do it if we're an employee inside a company. We can do it if we're a teacher, but just to try to have people understand to be just a little bit more selfless than selfish. It'll be some platform. It'll be some conference that 100,000 people want to come to. It'll be something going city to city and talking to 10,000 people at a time. Someone needs to take the helm of what maybe people that were religious used to do, like a Billy Graham. Someone needs to take control of that culturally in our country. Maybe it's what, Mahatma Gandhi did back in India, right? Where he made people believe that their country could have independence and he did it in a nonviolent way. And he's a guy who his experience didn't lead him to believe he wasn't the guy in control, but he'd just go from town to town, city to city. We need some people to take the reign to do that stuff, man, that aren't just about just making money, that aren't just about come buy my thing. So this thing keeps on going. I'm sure some of that's going to happen. I don't want to, like, let Jay do it, right? Let some of the other folks do it. But I don't think this can just be an influencer on Instagram with 1 million followers who were scaling it and we're monetizing it. I think it has to be more than that. So, yeah, my real estate company, man, we've got a chance to, in 10 to 20 years, yeah, we could be 50 to 100,000 agents because I'm not going to stop. We could be that. The bigger something gets that I'm affiliated and associated with, man, money comes with it. We're gonna do some stuff. I'm gonna positively impact and change some communities. But maybe I'll be the guy behind the scenes too. Maybe I'll be the guy that doesn't have to be out in front and I see 2 or 3 people that want to, and maybe you fund that. So I think this country's too special, man, to let it fall apart and for it not to be really good in 100 or 150 years when we're not around. I don't want it to be some Mad Max shit, man. I don't want it to be what's happened to some of these other countries. It's just we're so fortunate and so good. I want it to be this and even better going forward. And So who knows, man? I'm sure I'll be a part of that in some way, even if people don't know who I am.
It brings us back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Give me 100 men,
Mm-hmm.
10 of them shouldn't even be there. 80, nothing but targets. 9 of them are real fighters. And we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. Ah, but one. One is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. Mark Perkins,
Yeah.
thanks for bringing us back today.
Yeah.
I can't wait till next time. It's freaking awesome. If you're listening to this podcast, you got to subscribe to the Necessary Entrepreneur. Maybe get a second home in Northern Kentucky, or maybe a primary residence. Go out there and grow that. If you're in real estate, reach out to Mark and the team to figure out how you can get involved, learn more, be a part of the movement. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. Culture Matters podcast. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Jay. I'll be one of the 9. I don't need to be the number 1, man, but I'll be one of the 9 if that's the role that's necessary.